Hello, this is Kinninigan from RagingReptilian.com, and in this video today I wanted to go over some more Hindu mythology. Now, some of you may be aware that I just put out a documentary last month called The Dragon and Serpent Gods of Ancient Mythology. That is on my channel. I'll put a link in the description so you can watch it after this. I actually get into more mythology about the Naga in Hindu mythology than I do about Garuda, who is in this title. And the reason for this video is just to get something off my chest that's been bothering me after doing that documentary. I did more research on the Hindu god Garuda, and in the Hindu pantheon there are three major animal deities. You have Hanuman, the monkey god, Ganesha, the elephant god, and Garuda, who is the bird god. Now, I'm flashing some pics up on the screen here, and you will see that Garuda actually looks more like a winged Alpha Draco reptilian. And I believe he is the Alpha Draco reptilian of the Hindu pantheon, and that the Naga are not the serpents that people may think they are when they think of Hindu mythology. The Naga are a very ancient race, but they actually may be native to this planet, and they may not even be reptilian at all. And I'll get into that, how their symbolism actually ties in with Enki, the Sumerian water god, and how this race could actually be some type of, people may laugh at this, but a mermaid race from ancient Atlantis, actually. Now, this also ties in with Dogon, the Sumerian fish god, who was half man, half fish. The Namu from ancient Africa also claimed that a half-man, half-fish god rose from the sea. A lot of that's covered in my documentary. So I'll leave the link for that and you can go back and watch that. But what I really need to do is I'm going to record my desktop here, and we're going to take a look at this short description of Garuda, because there are some very important clues in this, and you'll find out where I'm coming at on this theory. I haven't known of anyone to touch on this subject before. I know that the Nagas are associated with being the reptilian race in Hindu mythology, but I'm about to show you that that's not true. Garuda is the reptilian in Hindu mythology. He is the beaked, winged Alpha Draconian. So I'm going to start recording my desktop here, and we're going to go to a page I had bookmarked on Garuda. And I'm going to read this real briefly. Garuda is one of the three principal animal deities in Hindu mythology that has evolved over the Vedic period in Indian history. The other two are Ganesha, the elephant-headed son of the goddess Durga, and Hanuman, the monkey god. It is after Garuda that the Indonesian national airlines is named. Even today, Garuda is much revered by devout Hindus for his ethics and strength in applying his ethics to correct evildoers. Garuda is the king of birds. He mocks the wind with his speed of flight. As the appointed charger of Vishnu, he is venerated by all, including humans. Garuda is the son of Kashyap, a great sage, and Vanada, the daughter of Daksha, a famous king. He was hatched from an egg Vanita laid. He has head, wings, talons, and a beak of an eagle, and the body and limbs of a man. He has a white face, red wings, and golden body. When he was born, he was so brilliant that he was mistaken for Agni, the god of fire, and worshipped. Garuda was born with a great hatred for the evil, and he is supposed to roam about the universe devouring the bad, though he spares Brahmins, and his parents had forbidden him to eat them. Garuda is also well known for his aversion to snakes, a dislike he had acquired from his mother Vanada. There is another story behind this hatred of Garuda's mother, as it is quite interesting. It is told hereafter. Kashyap, Garuda's father, had two wives, Kedru, the elder, and Vanita, Garuda's mother, the younger. There was a great rivalry between the two wives. They could not stand each other. Once they had an argument over the color of the horse Ucharvarvis, producing during the churning of the ocean just after the time of creation. Each chose a color and laid a wager on her own choice. The one who lost would become the other's slave. Khadro proved to be right, and as a part of the agreement, imprisoned Vanada in the nether regions Patala, where she was guarded by serpents. The serpents are, according to another myth, the sons of Khadro herself. Garuda, on hearing of his mother's imprisonment, descended to Patala and asked the serpents to release Vanada. They agreed to do so and demanded a ransom of a cup of Amrita, ambrosia. So Garuda set off for the celestial mountain where the Amrita was kept. Before he could get to the Amrita, he had to overcome 3 hazards set up by the gods to guard the celestial drink. First, Garuda came upon a ring of flames fanned up by high winds. They roared and leapt up to the sky, but Garuda drank up several rivers and extinguished the flames. Next, Garuda came upon a circular doorway, a very rapidly spinning wheel with sharp spikes on the spokes guarded it. Garuda made himself very small and slipped through the turning spokes. Lastly, Garuda had to defeat 2 fire-spitting serpents guarding the Amrita. He flapped his wings rapidly and blew the dust into the eyes of the monsters and blinded them. Then he cut them into pieces with his sharp beak. So Garuda finally reached the Amrita and started to fly back with it to the nether regions, but the gods anticipated his purpose and gave chase. Indra, king of the gods, struck him with a thunderbolt, but Garuda proved a superior warrior and defeated the gods and continued unscathed on his journey to Patala. When the serpents got the Amrita, they were overjoyed and released Vanada. Garuda got his mother back, but he became an inveterate enemy of the serpents, the sons of his mother's rival Khadro. Also, the serpents, the Nagas, symbolized evil, and that automatically invoked Garuda's hatred. As end piece to this myth, it must be told that as the Nagas were about to consume the Amrita Garuda had just brought them, the chasing gods entered Patala, and Indra seized and took away the cup of Amrita. Anyway, the serpents had just enough time to lick a few drops of Amrita, and this was enough to make them immortal. Also, since the celestial drink was very strong, their tongues were split, and this is why to this day serpents have forked tongues. A lot of interesting mythology in it. So what I'm going to do here is I want to briefly go over some of the things in the story that stand out to me. First of all, Garuda's fighting with the Nagas. The second thing is his dislike towards snakes. Now this is very interesting, as the Nagas are represented by the snake. And as I went over in the documentary that I did recently, there was an incident in the Old Testament with Moses and the bronze serpent, in which he had to make a bronze snake and mount it on a standard, which later became the same symbol as the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, which all dates back to Samaria. And so does this Hindu mythology. The snake is the symbol of the Sumerian god Enki. He is the water god. Now, that means that if the Naga are being represented by the snake symbol, which Garuda despises, it would mean that the Nagas are native to the earth. They're probably a race that was here up until the time the destruction of Lemuria and Atlantis, quite possibly around Lemuria, as that parts of Lemuria are still, it's sunk in the Pacific Ocean. That's where ancient Lemuria is. Atlantis is sunk in the Caribbean. And so this is really interesting, because Garuda fits the exact description of the winged Alpha Draconian. And when they invaded Earth, It's off my theory, along with Stuart Swearlow's, that they struck Earth, known as Tiamat. Some people may call it Maldek at the time, when Atlantis and Lemuria were around, striking the planet with the planet Venus, which is what caused the destruction of the dinosaurs and the Great Flood then. I believe that a lot of these native amphibious races that were left over from the times of Atlantis, the Naga being one of them, were hunted down and destroyed by the Alpha Draconians for one simple reason. If you want to control a planet that's 70% water, you need to control the oceans. And that's just the fact. If you have a native intelligent species in the ocean, then they're going to oppose some type of opposition towards you, especially after just destroying their planet. Now, as far as mermaid mythology and sea nymph mythology, that is another video I'm going to do all in itself. Because just like with the reptilians, I can tie in ancient mythology to every single continent on this planet, including, in modern times, rituals that are still carried out for sea nymphs in Africa. And there are even news stories of sea nymphs sabotage and dam construction in parts of Africa. This is all very real. I have the stories bookmarked. But about the Naga themselves, everyone's familiar with how the Nagas are represented, half man being up top with the tail of a dragon. But if you look at this, they wouldn't physically be able to walk around like this. Instead, they actually look more like fish. And that's the way that Dogen was represented in the Sumerian text, which I'll flash a picture of him up on the screen. Now, another mythology that goes back about the Naga that I did in that documentary, which was very interesting, was the communication that the ancient Chinese had with the Naga. And ancient Chinese merchants used to do business with the Naga, but they would never actually meet them face to face. What the merchants would do is they would sail their ships towards the Indus Valley, around the ancient India before the Aryan takeover. And what they would do is go to these beaches, and there would be goods and on the beach that the Naga would want to sell. And the only thing that would be in front of the goods was a price tag. And the Naga themselves would not be there. The merchants would come onto the beach. If they saw something they wanted, they would take the merchandise and leave the money on the beach. After the merchant ships departed, the Naga would then come back to the beach and collect the money or whatever they didn't sell. Now, this is very interesting because, one, this happens on a beach. I should tell you something right there. Two, they kept themselves hidden. So, it appears that the more you start to look at the Naga, and their symbol being the snake, which is the symbol of Enki, the Sumerian water god, a lot of the mythology around them revolves around water. You have Garuda, who is no doubt a winged Alpha Draconian reptilian, looking exactly like what I showed the Skeksis and the Phoenix. And remember too, his symbol is the eagle. That is very important, because the eagle, I made a short video about that before, but that's another video in of itself, on why everyone from the Romans to even modern law enforcement badges have the eagle, and why it's the American national symbol, why it was the symbol of the Nazis, why, if not the eagle, it's the phoenix, or in Saudi Arabia, it's the falcon. Russia uses the double phoenix. You have all these bird symbols being used by countries all around the world, and there's not supposed to be any connection to this. Well, if I wore a swastika, I'd be labeled as a Nazi, but it's okay for me to wear a shirt with an eagle on it because that's okay, when actually the Nazis used the eagle symbol as well. So it's kind of, when you look at the symbology and you start to try to make sense of it, it's really, a lot of it people just don't want to talk about, or they knock it off as being just coincidence or something, but it's not. And the fact that I'm finding that the Alpha Draconians use avian symbols more, and a lot of the ancient species or native reptilians to this planet, which are the Saurons. There is a native race, but I'm not getting into them at this time. This is mainly about the Naga and Garuda. But the fact that they're using the snake symbol as well, which like I showed, goes back to Christian mythology, goes back to Hindu mythology, it goes back to African mythology. In Chinese mythology, it's not so much the snake, but it's the dragon. So, and then when you start to look at the Naga, you really start to realize that this is not the Alpha Draconians. And quite possibly, these are depictions of what we have known in modern times as sort of a mockery too. You know, you have Disney with their Little Mermaid movies, so no one would ever take the idea of mermaids seriously. But I will disprove that in an upcoming video, which I'm gathering research for. But to leave the video here, you have Garuda, the Alpha Draconian reptilian, and you have the Naga, which are more or less depictions of the ancient Atlantean mermaid race. So that's all for this video. If there's any questions or comments, please leave them in the description, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. And until we speak again, this is Kinninigan, and take care.